Welcome to day 3. Fantastic that you're here. How did you go with your tasks from yesterday? Have you created some affirmations? I am, or, every day and every way I get better, better, and better, or I am aging youthfully. At every age, I feel youthful and full of energy. They're just 3. Anyway, have you got yours? I hope so. So today we're going to be moving to the C of the ACT, which is part of our priorities. So let's get started. So let's see how we can. Okay. So the C is for calm, and we have a calm state. We have an autonomic nervous system. It's like the automatic nervous system, if you like. So, we've got this nervous system that when I say move my hand, that's the somatic nervous system. But I'm not telling myself to breathe or my heart to beat or for my food to digest. All of that's happening automatically. And that happens via our autonomic nervous system. And it has 2 branches. And the reason I'm going to really go through this with you is because I think that when you have a really good understanding of what I'm going to go through, it makes it much easier to figure out why you're doing what you're doing and where to put your priorities. So the 2 branches of the autonomic nervous system are the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system you might have heard of before is called the stress response or the fight or flight response. And it's all about getting us in action. And from an evolutionary point of view, this was what kept us safe. It kept us getting to the next birthday, kept us alive. So if we're suddenly about to be mauled by a saber-toothed tiger, it allowed us to get out of the way, run, or fight if that was appropriate. And it was a short-lived thing because basically you either got away or you didn't. But there was sort of it wasn't a lengthy process. You were in it and then you weren't. The other branch is called the parasympathetic nervous system, and it's often referred to as the rest and digest system, but I like to call it the rest, digest, and rejuvenate system because this is the state of cellular rejuvenation. We're going to go into that a little bit more. And the other thing I'm going to touch on today is the amygdala, because it's the amygdala that sets off your stress response. So let's move on. Today we have, today we are in a situation where we're very rarely getting eaten by mountain lions or the equivalent. We don't have those, we don't have to, it's not life-threatening to go and get food. We just go to the supermarket. But our brain doesn't know the difference between that amount of danger and the other danger that we think that we're in when we're going to be late for a meeting, when we haven't got our work in time. Our boss is going to be cross, or we don't have money to pay for something, we might lose the house, or I'm so worried if I look good in this outfit. There are so many things that we worry about. And the sympathetic nervous system is the worry, I think I'm in danger, that things aren't perfect. I'm on. It's on. And when it's on, the other system is not on. So what that means is that we often, in a chronically stressed situation, every little minute is of the stress here. We're in the car and there's a little bit of a traffic jam and we get all worked up. All of these things are putting us in the stress response. And all the time that we're in the stress response, we're not in the rest, digest, and rejuvenate response. So the stress response is not bad. It's there to protect us, but we're not supposed to live there. We're not supposed to be there for any length of time. And when we get into these chronic stress situations where we're permanently in the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, it is not healthy. So let me just show you. When we're in the chronic stress, we have high blood pressure, we have inflammation in the body, we have a weakened immune system, we have aging at a cellular level, our mood is low, we feel anxious. And if you look at any of the diseases, life-threatening diseases or life-limiting diseases, shall I say, you know, the cancer, the diabetes, the heart disease, strokes, all of these, if you look at them and you look at risk factors, stress is one of them. Why? Because the body can't do any self-healing when it's in the stress response. Our body's got all these amazing mechanisms that will try and keep us healthy. We'll try and make sure, you know, we've got surveillance mechanisms in our immune system to make sure that, you know, we don't have, you know, rogue cells causing cancers and things. But we have to, that system has to be on. And it's not on when we're in chronic stress. So for cellular rejuvenation, we have to be out of that. We have to be out of the chronic stress state. And for a lot of people, they're in a habit of chronic stress. So they also have to create a habit of calm. And maybe that's you, or maybe you've already got a good habit of calm, which if you have, that's great. But I just really wanted to point out the importance of not being constantly in the stress state. Because when we're in the rest, digest, and rejuvenate state, you know, everything's going for us. We have improved digestion. You know, our digestion turns off when we're stressed. You know, when you're getting ulcers and you know, and all this sort of thing wrong with your digestion, you're too much in your fight or flight. We need to put you back in rest, digest, and rejuvenate. Improved digestion, reduced inflammation, a boosted immune system, because it's, you know, now it's in the state where it goes and does what it needs to do. This is when you have cellular repair and rejuvenation. You know, you'll see in some literature, we'll talk about, you know, we need to repair our DNA. Well, this is when it occurs in our rest, digest, and rejuvenate. And it gives us a sense of calm. So we feel better. Our mental health state is better. So we want to be in this state as much as possible. And so today I'm going to be talking about how you do that. And I'm going to be talking about how you switch, because it's literally a switch from one state to the other. You're in your sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, or you're in the other. You're not in both together. You're in one or the other. And so when you are in the stress response and you no longer need it to save your life, you think of it like that as, do I need to be in this state to save my life? If not, and most of the time it's going to be not, then you need to switch to your rest, digest, and rejuvenate. And I'm going to give you some tools to be able to do that. But not only do you want those tools to be able to do that in the moment of stress, what you want to do is use those tools regularly, even when you're not stressed, to create the habit. You want your body to be in the habit of the rest, digest, and rejuvenate. So that's where you live. It's like chill, calm. That's where you live, because that's going to be best for your health. That's best for longevity. It's best for vitality. That's how you have cellular rejuvenation. So I also wanted to just mention the amygdala. The amygdala, there's one on either side of our brain, and it's like the body's smoke alarm. And the amygdala sets off the fight or flight. So when your amygdala senses danger, then it sets off the fight or flight response. And that response is very quick, because it's the amygdala and the sympathetic nervous system are very closely aligned. So I just want to give you, when I was working in hospitals, there were many times that we were in a lecture, in a clinic or whatever, in our office, and fire alarms would go off and we'd have to go outside. And then, it's a big thing, everyone's outside, the fire engines come, quite a few because it's a hospital. They have to go through and do their thing, and then they'll come out and go, it's all clear, you can go back. And a lot of the time, that would say, oh, somebody, burnt some toast on ward such and such. And the thing about a smoke alarm is a smoke alarm will go off if you burn the toast or if you have a fire in the house. It doesn't make an assessment, it just goes off. And your amygdala is a bit like that as well. It can go off if you're being mauled by a lion, but it can go off if you're worried that, you're late for a meeting, for example. And so you're rushing and you're in traffic and you can't get there and you're getting all stressed out. It doesn't discriminate, if you like. It just does that. And it takes time between the messages coming to the amygdala to get to the thinking part of the brain, which might go, actually, I don't need to be stressed about this. The first thing that will go off is your fight or flight. And the thing about your amygdala is that it can be very sensitive. So just imagine the smoke alarm that not only went off with the burnt toast, but it went off when the kettle boiled or on a hot day. And some people have a heightened amygdala, very sensitive amygdala. Maybe you're one of those people. So if you're chronically stressed, if you've got hormone imbalances, if you've suffered trauma or ACE is adverse childhood events, you've had, children who grow up in with domestic violence have a very heightened sense of vigilance and a heightened sense of danger. So they have a very sensitive amygdala. It goes off very quickly. If you have had chronic pain, then your amygdala is very heightened. So you've suffered chronic pain, and then you start to get a little bit of pain, and your body's like, oh my gosh, here it goes again, and it sets up your fight or flight goes off. If you're sleep deprived. So it's really important when we're thinking about our nervous system that we're also aware that we may need to reprogram, if you like, our amygdala. So not only do we need to be able to switch from our fight or flight to our rest, digest, and rejuvenate, we need to create a safe environment for our amygdala so it feels safe. And so, if you are somebody who seems to be very triggered, then it may just be that we need to recalibrate your amygdala. And there will be a process that I talk about today that will do that. And just before we move on, having talked about the amygdala, I just want to talk about the fact that many women are going through, many women here may be going through or been through perimenopause, menopause, and reduced estrogen has some direct effects on the nervous system. First of all, when your estrogen goes down, which it does with menopause, your cortisol goes up. So cortisol is the stress hormone. So when your fight or flight goes off, your fight or flight is activated, I should say, not goes off. When it's activated, you get a release of cortisol and adrenaline from the adrenal glands. And it's cortisol that then does a lot of the things that happen in the stress response. So if now what's happened is without any stress, your estrogen's just changed and your cortisol's gone up. So your body is feeling stressed and all of those things, even though nothing's happened other than a change in your estrogen. Also, you get an overactive stress response. So your amygdala becomes a little bit more sensitive. So you get stressed with less of a trigger. And you also get reduced serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter. So you have reduced mood and poorer sleep. So you can sort of see around the menopause, around the sort of late 40s, 50s, that you've got reasons to be in a heightened stress response. And so being able to get into your rest digest, to live in that response, your rest digest rejuvenate state, to be able to go there easily and often is very important. And it's just also to understand, why do I feel so, if you're in this state, why do I feel so anxious? Why do I feel so stressed? Why do I feel? It's because the hormones change and there are physical things happening in the body. So before we go to the actual practical bit, I just wanted to talk about programming of the nervous system. So our nervous system is programmed, particularly in childhood. So, for example, if a child puts their hand in a fire, they won't do that again. Why? Because it's programmed into their nervous system, and their nervous system creates little circuits, and those little circuits mean they won't do it again. And trauma of any kind is programmed. Adverse childhood events are programmed into the nervous system. I mentioned, children who've had domestic violence are hypervigilant, and so they're always on edge. And all of that is programmed into their nervous system. But even micro traumas are programmed. So being spoken to harshly, or feeling not good enough, or feeling like you didn't really perform properly, or, all of these are programmed into your nervous system. And as well as that, all of the beliefs of the people around you. And the reason that occurs is because the brainwaves of children are lower. They're at the level that we would consider hypnotic, if you like. And so everything is going in. They don't have any filters. So if people are calling them useless and whatever, some parents say to their children, which are very negative things, those are going in, and they're beliefs that get programmed into the nervous system. And so what actually happens is, remember we were talking, I said about the intention that we set at the beginning. Why do we want something? And I said, think about why, and then what's the feeling, because it's got a vibration, it's got a frequency. And the reason that's important is because our nervous system is an electrical system. That's how nerves travel from my brain to my finger, is by nerves, by electricity along the nerves. When electricity moves, it creates a magnetic field. So now we've got an electromagnetic field. So we've got a frequency. And when we have these blocks in the nervous system, they block the flow of the electricity. So they change the electromagnetism, they change the frequency. So I hope I described that not too confusingly. Because the subconscious blocks that we've created, those programming into the nervous system when we were children, usually of traumas, of micro traumas, of beliefs, all of those are programmed and cause subconscious blocks, like little short circuits, if you like, in the nervous system. So the flow of the electricity isn't the same, so the frequency is not the same. So I can say, oh, I want this, and it's that frequency, but if my nervous system is operating at a different frequency, it basically cancels it out. So we need to make sure we've cleared those blocks. And the good news is you don't have to spend years in therapy trying to work out what they are. You don't even need to know what they are. There's a practice I'm going to share today where they will be cleared without you knowing. But it is just important to know that all of these interfere with us getting what we want. So subconscious blocks are the things that sabotage you. You say, oh, I want to be successful and have money, but there's a subconscious block from the beliefs that were programmed into you as a child that money is evil. And people with money are evil, or something like that. There might be something like, oh, I want to be successful, but there's a subconscious block that says, oh, you're just, you're not enough, you don't have enough, you can't do it. So these are the blocks that we need to clear if we really want to make change. and we really want to move forward. And so if you want to, then we'll be coming tomorrow to tweaking the lifestyle, and a lot of that's about habit formation. If we want to make habits stick, clearing the blocks is a really good way to make sure that any new things are more likely to occur, to stick, really means is to occur, but to actually stay, because we don't have anything blocking it. We're setting an intention. There aren't any blocks. So now we can get what our intention is. You know, as I mentioned, the power of the mind is so powerful. You know, we can create saliva just thinking about a lemon. So this is about, okay, I'm setting my intention for this. Everything is in alignment. I don't have any subconscious blocks. Everything is there going forward. So I have my 3 Bs to turn on calm. And the first one is be in the now. Be in the present. So many times we're not in the present, we're thinking about the future, or we're worrying about it often, or we're ruminating about the past, we're thinking about things in the past, and we're not in this moment. But we can only create in this moment. So we need to be able to be in the now. And so I have some practical tips that will be hopefully very easy to implement. So the first one, well, is any mindfulness practices like meditation, yoga, qigong. Any of those practices will bring you into the now. If you just happen to be, you know, like you might be listening to me and you're like, well, how do I get into the now? You could just do a quick body scan where you sort of basically just quickly scan your body, sort of go, okay, look at my head, I'm thinking about my head, I'm thinking about my neck, you know, you're just asking yourself, you know, how is it? Do I have any, you know, what's going on? You're noticing without judgment. So it's like, I've got a little bit of a pain there. You don't need judges, like, okay, notice it. I don't actually, but I'm just saying I could have. Or then my shoulders, I say a bit of stiffness or not. But you just notice what it is. I don't have that. You just quickly go down your body as if you're just scanning it. How are my hands? Yeah. How's my torso? How's my trunk? How's my hips? How are my legs? How are my feet? Just noticing. There's something that people often talk about, body scanning. And finally, and sometimes with the body scan, it's like, okay, I notice and then I relax it. So I notice my feet and then I relax them. But you just, the key is really no judgment, no analyzing. We're not analyzing things, we're just being aware of them. So aware, not analysis. And the last one, which is very easy to do, is the 5 senses countdown, where you basically do a countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, using your senses. So 5 things. What are 5 things I can see right now? What are 4 things I can feel right now? What are 3 things I can hear right now? What are 2 things I can smell right now? And what's 1 thing I can taste? And again, it's just observing. You know, not like going, oh, I can taste that. I haven't cleaned my teeth. It's not like that. No, it's, oh, I can taste garlic. I can taste garlic. So, and it doesn't really matter if it's 4 things that you can hear and 3 things you can feel. It does, the order of those ones doesn't really matter as much. There's only 1 thing you can taste, so make sure that's at the bottom. And you don't usually smell that many things, so that being 2. But it's a quick way to get into the now. And it's a really important thing when you're stressed. Get into the now. There's a lot of things going on. Get into the now. You're in a meeting and there's a lot of things going on. Sit back and just observe. You know, I wonder what's going on with there. I wonder. I wonder is quite a good way to get into the now as well. So the next thing, my second B, is a beat it mentality. I don't know if I've just used beat it because it starts with a B. So basically, some of the early studies, on telomeres, which they're very important in cellular aging. But the key thing that they found when they were, Elizabeth Blackburn, when she discovered them, was that people who have that your mindset about stress and obstacles and things that affect you influences how long your telomeres are. And the short thing is you want longer telomeres that gives you longer, healthier life. So if you, and as I said already, we can't, stresses are going to occur in our life. We can't say we're never going to have stress, never have stress. It will happen. But how we approach stress influences our cells. So, and particularly the telomeres. So if something happens to you and it's like, oh my gosh, this has happened to me, and you really start to get panicky about it and you feel almost like it's a threat, your telomeres are shorter. That means shorter life and less health. If the same thing happens to you and you're like, this is a challenge rather than a threat, then you have longer telomeres. You have longer life, and those years are healthier, so you have a long, healthy life. So that's what you want. You want to have a beat it mentality. So how do you do that? Well, the way that I do it, which I just have one thing here, I think, to make it quite simple, is when something happens, I've got this. I've got this. And, you'll be aware that events happen. And it's not the event that affects how people are after it. So, for example, we had earthquakes in Christchurch. So that was just an event. But different people reacted differently, and their experience of the earthquakes was different. And so that the difference in terms of, well, you've got the same event and different experiences is the reaction. It's how you react to things. And so how you react to is, I've got this. Honestly, sometimes I'm saying, I've got this. I have no idea how I've got it. I've got no idea. But what I do know is that I've got this as a healthy way for my cells. And I also know that it's programming my brain to find a solution. So we're tapping in. So although this is on a different day from mindset, none of these things are completely separate. So I'm also programming my cells. I've got this. I've got this. And my brain's like, oh, she's got this. Let me find it. Like I'm making it like I'm telling my brain that I've got it. So it will hopefully search out a solution. And then I'll get little, oh gosh, little moments of inspiration. So a beat it mentality is really important for stress. And now we're coming to my absolute favorite, which is breathe. And the reason breathing is so amazing is that we have, with our breath, direct access into the autonomic nervous system. So, for example, the autonomic nervous system, it affects, say, our pupil size. So we're in fight or flight, our pupils are dilated. When in fight or flight, our heart rate is going fast. All of these things are affected. Our breathing gets shallower. So our autonomic nervous system creates all of these things. I can't say, relax pupils and make them less dilated. I can't just say immediately slow heart rate. I can say to myself, breathe slower, breathe deeper. Just like that, I've accessed the autonomic nervous system. I have switched it on. I've switched on my parasympathetic nervous system. A deep breath into my belly, expanding my belly. It means I've engaged my diaphragm. When I've engaged my diaphragm with my breathing, I've activated the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the parasympathetic main nerve. So now I've turned that on. So my heart rate will go down. My pupils will change. My digestion will, everything will change. I have got direct access in there. So yes, I could meditate and that will change my state if I'm stressed into the other state. But nothing is quite as quick as just taking a breath. And we, I often talk to people about breathing because obviously I'm a breathwork specialist now. So, and I'm talking to people and they go, show me how you breathe, take a deep breath. And they go, and they raise their shoulders. They're not breathing into their belly. Put your hand on your belly, take a deep breath in through your nose. Feel your belly expand. Feel your hand move out. Then you know that you're breathing into your belly. You're engaging your diaphragm. You don't breathe like this up to your shoulders. You breathe. So you breathe down into your belly, and then you can fill your lungs and open your chest. But that turns on your autonomic nervous system. And it's pretty amazing the things that the breath will do, because now you've accessed your parasympathetic nervous system by activating the vagus nerve. You're improving your digestion. You're improving your immune function. You're dropping your blood pressure. You're getting better mood. All of these things because you have got charge of that. And that's pretty amazing. Changing how you breathe before you have a meal can improve your digestion. If you turn on your rest, digest, and rejuvenate state before you eat a meal, your digestion is going to be better than if you sit down stressed. The other thing that the breath can do is it releases stored trauma. So remember I talked about those blocks. We can clear subconscious blocks with the breath without even knowing what they are. We can calm the amygdala. We can create a sense of safety and recalibrate the autonomic nervous system by calming and desensitizing the amygdala. So if you're one of those very hyper vigilant people, then breath work is going to be really good to help you get into a state of feeling safer, so your trauma response isn't on heightened alert. And obviously breathing increases the amount of oxygen. A nice deep breath increases the amount of oxygen into the body, and oxygen is necessary for cellular health and cellular energy. Our cells make energy by using oxygen and glucose. Our cells remain alive because they get oxygen. So our breath is so, so important. And there are a number of, let's see what the next one says. There are a number of things that we can do with our breath. And a really quick one to access the parasympathetic nervous system is to breathe out twice as long as you breathe in. And this is so easy. I teach it to children. When you breathe in through the nose for 2 and out through the mouth for 4. And I go, smell the roses for 2, blow the candles for 4. So it's and that is a very easy breath. There are many, many breaths. I'm not going to go through them all here, and they are all great. Box breathing, triangular breathing, deep breathing. But that, I call it the 2x breath, where you're breathing out twice as long, is a very easy one to get into the parasympathetic nervous system. So in summary, 3 B's to turn on the calm response are to be in the now. And you can do it immediately. Just get into noticing, not judging, being aware, not analyzing of everything around you mode. Having a beat it mentality, like I've got this, and breathe. So I mentioned, we have a breath session every day, and today's breath session I'm going to upload separately just for, I want it to have some music, and so I want better sound quality. So I'm going to upload it separately, and it's going to be a little bit longer. But breath work is going to rewire the nervous system. It's going to create a state of cellular rejuvenation. We're going to clear blocks and connect with our intention, that frequency of our intention, and then create our body's nervous system, electromagnetic system. Really, the nervous system's electrical, but then we have a magnetic system surrounding the movement of that electricity, but we have a frequency of vibration. And that and you'll know that people say, oh, they've got a really cool vibe. Wow, their vibe really, dropped the mood in the room. People have a vibe. That's a frequency. That's your vibration. That's your frequency. That's your electromagnetic field. And we can change that. And when we change it to be in alignment with what we want, then everything falls into place. So I just want to go over the tasks for today. So if you post them, if you do hashtag day 3, I'd like you, if you want to do the breath activation that I'm going to do for you, and then journal. So just journaling, basically just get a piece of paper or a notebook, and you just write whatever comes to you. So you can start with a prompt. And the prompt I think I'd like you to start with today is, what am I grateful for about myself? So you could write that at the top, and then just write whatever comes to you. And, if you can write for 10 to 12 minutes, that's great. But just write. Because the breath activation often puts you in a state where you're more receptive to inspiration and to guidance coming, so that then you write. And I think it's really just an important time today to be also grateful. So thank you for joining, and I will see you tomorrow.